Carl Jung documented a change so rare it looks, from outside, like a person going cold, calm, unreachable. He has a name for it: enantiodromia. A force at its limit swings into its opposite. In 1912, Jung studied a young woman he never met, known only as Miss Frank Miller, her mind overrun by a rising flood of images she never chose. You know that flood. You have drowned in every room's weather. Something has gone still, and this file has your name on it. Before this ends, you will know what went quiet in you, the one test that tells this turn from a feeling gone dark, and the part of yourself you buried to stay lovable. Your stillness is either the death of your heart or the rarest thing it can do. But Jung finds something stranger than the flood. A feeling run this wide open reaches a limit, and driven to it, it reverses, and from outside it looks exactly like a person gone cold, and the people who love you most will be the ones most frightened by your calm, and the reason has nothing to do with them. The blue in a flame is its hottest part. What they keep calling cold is the most complete burn you have ever managed. Start with what is actually happening in you, because no one around you is describing it accurately. Something has gone still. A name lights your phone, a name that once reorganized your whole afternoon, and you look at it, and almost nothing moves. A story that would have pulled you under, a guilt that used to work on you every single time. A mood walks into the room, the kind you would have caught like a cold, and it lands on a surface in you that does not give the way it used to. You see all of it. You are not blind to a single degree of it. It simply does not sweep you. The people around you have noticed, and they do not like it. You have been called cold, distant, checked out, not yourself. Someone has probably asked, in a wounded voice, what happened to you? And one part of it you have kept entirely to yourself. You are afraid they might be right, because you remember who you were, back when you were the one who felt everything. You cried at a stranger's bad news in a checkout line. You brought other people's grief home in your body. You slept in it. Being the one who feels the most was the whole of who you were, and now that person seems to be gone, replaced by someone level and quiet who watches the same scenes from the far side of glass. So you lie awake with the frightening question: did something in me finally die? Did I turn, at last, into the cold ones, the people who could watch me come apart and feel nothing? Here's a truer picture of what has happened to you. For most of your life, you were a candle standing in a room full of open windows. Every draft moved you. Every door that opened somewhere in the house made you lean and gutter and throw your light sideways, and people loved to stand near you because you took the shape of whatever air they brought in. That was your warmth. It was also why you could never once hold still. Then the flame got hotter, not colder, hot enough that it stopped thrashing at every draft and stood straight up into a single silent cone, burning blue. And fire keeps its strangest fact in plain sight. The blue part, the part that looks coldest, is the hottest part there is. Keep one person in mind as we go. A man 61 who spent 40 years as the steady one the whole floor leaned on, and who woke this past year to find that the old pull no longer reached him. His people started calling him cold. We will come back to him, because his fear is the exact one you walked in with. But before you decide something in you died, you have to understand what actually went quiet. Something older than your heart reached the end of what it could survive, and it turned. Picture what your feeling actually was before the stillness. It was a permanent openness with no door on it running the whole time, though you never once chose it. When the person beside you went angry, their anger arrived inside your own chest as if it were yours. When someone was ashamed, the heat of it climbed your own face. You did not watch other people's weather from a dry place. You stood out in all of it, all the time, and you called that love, because you had never once known feeling to be anything else. Jung has a word for the part of you that does this. He calls it the feeling function, the way a psyche reads the world through worth and relationship and the felt value of things. In you, it ran with no regulator on it. A single function running unchecked begins to run the person it lives in. Yours led. You followed. That is a rare capacity, and it is a beautiful one. It is also unlivable at full volume forever. A flame that leans toward every draft never gets to stand. You spent decades taking the shape of whatever air walked into a room, and it cost you something the people warming their hands never once had to think about. You had no still center. You were the room changing. There is a distinction you can use today, before I explain any of the rest. There is a fast way to tell whether your feeling has died or only moved. Sit across from someone in real pain and try to name, in precise detail, what they are feeling. The shame under the anger, the fear under the control. If you can still describe it exactly, your feeling did not die. It moved behind glass you are able to open. A dead instrument reads nothing at all. Yours is reading everything and choosing, for the first time, not to be swept off its feet by what it reads. Keep that test. You will need it again before the end. There was a particular loneliness in it that you never had a name for. You could walk into a room and know in seconds who was angry and hiding it, who was about to cry, who wanted to leave. You read all of them at once, the way other people read a clock, and not one of them could read you back. So you learn to translate yourself down into something small and easy, a warm surface people could set their weather on, and you called the translation kindness. The cost of being the most open person in every room is that you become the least known one in it. Trace the arithmetic of a life spent as everyone's weather. You knew the mood of every person at every table, rarely your own. Exhaustion became your baseline. You decided that was simply the price of caring. The openness got rewarded, so it grew. People came back to the one who always felt with them, and the more they came back, the less of you was left that could ever be off. Endless reachability stopped being something you offered. It hardened into the only self you had. Now the part that reframes the fear you walked in with. A thing driven far enough in one direction reaches a limit it cannot pass. Push it against that limit. The force swings into its opposite. Jung sees this happen in the psyche so reliably that he gives it a name, enantiodromia, the running of a thing into its own reverse. Push a conscious attitude hard enough against its limit, and the buried opposite rises up from underneath to meet it. You have watched this swing in other people, even without a name for it. The rigidly controlled man who never lets a feeling show, breaking one afternoon into a rage nobody saw coming. The tireless caretaker who wakes one morning unable to lift a finger for anyone. A thing held at one extreme long enough builds its own opposite underneath, in the dark, until the opposite is stronger than the thing on top. Your openness did the same. It ran so far in one direction that it manufactured its own reverse, and one ordinary day the reverse was simply there, wearing the face of calm. This is what happened to your feeling. Run at full openness for a lifetime. With no floor under it and no rest in it, it reached the end of what it could give. And instead of shattering, it turned, and the endless reaching became stillness. The permeability resolved into a strange, level calm. From the outside, it looks like the reverse of everyone you have ever been. And in one exact sense, it is. Because that is what the swing does. It brings the opposite up from below. It feels less like going numb and more like your feet finally touching the bottom after years of going under. And the timing of this is almost never a choice you made. This shift tends to arrive on the far side of a season that took everything from you. A loss, an exhaustion with no name, one last betrayal the old openness could not survive. The stillness grew in the crater the reaching left behind. But a calm this deep asks one hard thing of you before you rest on it. Not whether it looks like peace, whether anything still burns underneath it. And that is not a question you can answer by looking. Here is where a lesser video would flatter you. This one will not. The stillness by itself proves nothing. A calm that has gathered your whole self onto a center and a calm that has simply stopped feeling can wear the very same level face. You cannot see heat. You can only reach toward it and find out whether it answers. So the work of this movement is simple. Test what still lives underneath the quiet. Because one version of this stillness is not the turn at all. A feeling life can take one blow too many, decide the cost of caring outran what it could ever pay, and quietly go out and call the dark that follows peace. There is real relief in it. The storms stop. There is also no heat left in the room, no color, no reach toward the people you love, and it tends to arrive by the same door, on the far side of a season that asks more of you than you had. That is worth naming plainly, because it is the more comfortable place to land in the short run. You can hear which one you are in by how the calm speaks about the past. The turn remembers exactly what it was like to feel everything, and does not miss the drowning. The other cannot quite reach the memory at all, as if all that feeling happened to someone else, behind a glass that no longer opens. Come back to the man I asked you to keep in mind. He is a retired shop foreman, 61, and for 40 years, he was the steady one the whole floor leaned on. He carried other men's troubles home in his chest. He could be pulled into anybody's crisis inside a single sentence. In the last year, something closed over him, a great level quiet. The people used to reaching him cannot reach him the old way, and they have started to call him cold, distant, not himself. He half believes them. One afternoon, a younger man he once trained sits across from him, coming apart over a lost job and a marriage going down with it. A year ago, he would have been up half the night carrying it. Today, he is calm. He listens. He says the true thing, and he stays in his chair. And a fear moves through him that he tells no one. He cannot tell from the inside whether his stillness is because he has finally stopped drowning or because he can no longer feel the younger man at all. That not knowing is the honest center of this whole thing. So stop reading the flame by looking at it. Reach. This week, pick one person who has earned it and open the door on purpose. Say the true, tender thing, the one you would have swallowed a year ago. Drop the stillness deliberately and see whether the warmth rises when you call it. If it comes to meet you, the fire is lit, and the calm you are standing in is a floor you built. If you reach and nothing answers, not even for the person you love most, then the feeling has gone dark, and that asks for tending, not celebrating. The only proof of a fire is the heat on your hand when you reach for it. Say you pass. Say the warmth came. Then the harder question is the one the calm has been shielding you from all along. Not what went quiet in you, what came back. Because this turn did not only take something away, it let something in, something you exiled a long time ago, and it is the true reason you seem cold. Look straight at what actually came back. Do not flinch from it. When people call you cold, they are reacting to something specific that has returned to you. What returned is the presence of everything you were never once allowed to be. The hardness, the flat, unbothered no, and the capacity to be unmoved. The willingness to disappoint a person and not spend 3 days repairing it. The part of you that can look at somebody's manufactured crisis and simply decline to pick it up off the floor. That part was always in you. You buried it because you had no choice. Because somewhere early, you learned an arithmetic. The arithmetic of being loved in your house. The warm, giving, endlessly available version of you was the one that got kept close. The version that could say no, that got angry, that had edges and teeth, was the one that got punished, or shamed, or left standing in the cold. So you built a self out of the acceptable half, and you buried the rest in the dark where it would never be found. You can probably find the exact moment, if you look for it. A time you said no and watched a face fall, or a door close, or love go cold in someone whose love you could not live without. You were small. You did the math a child does. You decided the no was the problem, and you put it away, and every year after that, the putting away got easier, until you could not have found the no if your life depended on it. Your life did depend on it. You just did not know that yet. If you just found that exact moment, put it in the comments. One line is enough. I buried my no to keep the love. Jung has a name for that exiled half. He calls it the shadow, everything true about you that could not fit the face you had to wear to be loved. And the warm face itself, the one everyone is now grieving, has a name too. He calls it the persona, the compromise you struck with everyone who needed you to stay soft, the mask negotiated between what you were and what the people around you could tolerate. Here is what the turn really was. The exiled half came home. The hardness you spent a lifetime refusing walked back in and sat down inside you. And it came for a reason that has nothing to do with cruelty. A person built out of only the soft half was half a self, endlessly available, with no ground under them and no power to protect the very softness that made them worth loving. The calm you are feeling is your warmth finally standing next to your strength, so that for the first time it does not have to hand itself to everyone who reaches. What they keep calling coldness is really your own spine returning after years of being exiled from it. Trace it back in the man's own life and you can find the room where the trade got made. For him it was the year his father was dying. He was 19. Someone had to be the steady one, so he was the steady one. He drove the long roads to the hospital. He signed the papers no one else could face. He held his mother up at the graveside. And when anyone asked how he was holding up, he said fine, because fine was the only thing the room ever needed from him. No one asked the boy carrying all of it what the carrying cost. He learned that season that his own need was a thing to keep out of sight, and he got so good at hiding it that being needed came to feel close enough to being loved that he stopped checking the difference. 40 years later, that difference is the whole story. The man meets it now. For a year, he has felt the calm and read it as a coldness taking him over. Standing at the mirror, he sees what actually returned. The no he was never allowed to say. The refusal he swallowed for 61 years to stay the dependable one, the strong one, the one who never needed anything back. He knows the figure in the glass. It is the oldest part of him, the part he buried to stay the one everyone could lean on, coming back for its seat. Now the fear you have carried this whole time, straight on, because you have earned the honest version. You are afraid this turn is making you into them, the cold ones. The ones who hurt you and felt nothing while they did it. Maybe you are afraid you are becoming your mother, or your father, or the partner who could watch you fall apart and stay perfectly still. The difference matters. A person who never had a heart and a person who has one and has finally learned to close the door on it when the door needs closing are not the same creature. The narcissist cannot feel you. You can, and you are learning to choose when. The very fact that this frightens you, that you lie awake auditing your own capacity for coldness, is proof you are not the thing you fear. A person who truly felt nothing would not be checking for it at all. Jung is blunt about how a person actually becomes whole, and it does not happen by piling on more of the light. His line is exact. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. You do not get free by being softer, warmer, more available. You already tried that. You were the most feeling person in every room you entered, and it very nearly emptied you out. You get free by turning to face the hard, exiled part you were taught to hate, and letting it back in on purpose, with your eyes open. That is the rarest and the most frightening turn a feeling person can make, and almost no one makes it. because almost everyone would rather keep the warm mask and stay depleted than meet the part of themselves that can finally say the word no. There is a real danger in it, so keep it in frame. The exiled part comes back hungry. For a season, it can overcorrect, swing too far, turn a hardness you needed into a hardness that cuts the people who did nothing to deserve it. Integrating the shadow means letting it sit at your table, in full view, where you can see it and answer for it. It does not get to run things. The aim was to become whole, and whole means carrying both halves at once, the soft and the hard together. The relief in that is real, if it is there for you. You no longer have to perform warmth to earn a place in a room. There is grief in it too, real grief, for the years you spent exiled from half of your own self and calling that exile a virtue. Let both be true at the same time. Because once you stop being afraid of the calm, one question is left standing, and the outward-facing life you used to live could never turn far enough to ask it. Not what is everyone else feeling right now. With a spine finally under you, what are you actually standing on? So here is what the calm actually is. Underneath the fear, underneath the shadow. It is the first time your feeling has had a center to happen inside of. Jung calls the long work of building that center individuation, the slow becoming of the whole specific person you already were under the mask and the exile. Not becoming someone new. Becoming at last the one you were before the room told you which parts of you were allowed. And the center itself, the thing you can finally feel yourself standing on, runs deeper than the small, anxious self that spent its life reading every face for danger. Jung calls it the self, the true middle of the whole psyche, the ground the ego keeps mistaking itself for, both the center of you and the circumference that holds all of you inside it. This is why you are calm. A place has formed in you that does not move when the room moves, and your caring is still there, resting on it. The weather still comes. You still feel every degree of it. You are simply no longer made out of it. And this is the real meaning of the word that frightens the people around you. Unreachable. You are unreachable in a far more exact sense than a bolted door. You can no longer be pulled off your own ground by whoever happens to be knocking on it. The people who could once move you with a look, a sigh, a slow withdrawal of their approval, cannot work the old controls anymore because the controls were wired into a self that no longer exists. That is what they grieve when they call you cold. What they lost was their access to you. Your love is still intact. The difference is that the door only opens from the inside now, and you are the one who decides when. This is what it does to the people around you. The ones who are feeding on your permeability fall away, or they protest the loudest, because a self with a center cannot be run the way an open room can. And the ones who actually loved you, the real you and not the service you provided, are the ones who can survive you having a floor. You will be able to name them now, the ones who only ever came for the open door. A center does more than hold you steady. It also shows you which people came for you and which ones came for the service you provided. The wound is still there, integrated now, and that is what lets you be close to the fire without becoming the fire. The candle that leaned toward every window is standing on a base now, one that runs down through the table and the floor and into the ground. The curtains still snap at every window. The flame gives off more heat than it ever gave when it was thrashing toward every draft in the house. And when you finally turn back toward the people who called you cold, something happens that you did not expect. You stop needing them to understand the turn at all. That, more than the calm itself, is how you will know it was real. The man is at his kitchen table one evening. His phone lights with a name that used to unravel his entire week in a single message. He reads it. He feels the old pull reach for him, right on schedule, and he watches it arrive at a surface that holds. He does not fire back a wound. He does not go hard and cruel either. He answers as himself, briefly, kindly, from his own ground, and he sets the phone face down. By the back door sits one work boot he still keeps, the old habit of always being on call, set down at last. Later that same evening, a different person sits down across from him, one of the 2 or 3 who love the actual man and not the service he provided, and this one is in real pain. And he chooses to open the door. He lets the whole feeling in. He grieves with them, fully, and the calm holds under it. It carries the feeling without drowning in it. That is the proof. It was never the feeling gone dark. A dead flame gives no heat to the person across the table. His did. The one who walks out of this is a whole person, not a harder, colder version of you sealed off and finally safe from everyone. You did not lose the capacity to feel. What you lost was the compulsion to feel everything, for everyone, at all hours, whether or not the feeling was ever yours to carry. The reaching is still alive in you. It just has a floor to reach from now. You will still feel more than the people around you. That does not change. You would not trade it if you could. What changes is that the feeling belongs to you now. You get to decide where it goes. You can stay perfectly still in the storm that used to take you under, and you can walk straight into the fire for the one person who has earned your whole heart. And both of those are you, and neither one of them is cold. The signs of it are small and unspectacular. A name lights the phone. Your whole day does not rearrange itself around it. A friend drifts out of the friendship because you stop being endlessly available, and you feel the loss cleanly, and you let them go. Another one stays and gets, for the first time, a version of you with edges and a center, and loves that one more. The shadow is home now, sitting at the table in plain sight, no longer running you from the dark. The warm mask is off, and what is under it is truer than the mask ever was, and it is finally yours. You were the fire the whole time. The one that forgot it was ever allowed to stand still. The calm the people around you keep calling coldness was the rarest thing a feeling person can survive into. Your heart did not die in it. Your openness reached the end of what it could give, and instead of breaking, it turned, and the exiled half of you came home and gave your softness a spine to stand beside. The fire simply got hot enough that it no longer had to thrash at every draft. So do the one thing that proves which calm you are living in. This week, name the person who has earned your whole heart, the single one, and open the door to them on purpose. Not to everyone, to that one. Say the tender, true thing you would have swallowed a year ago. Let the whole feeling come and watch it hold. That is the whole proof, and only you, in that room, will feel whether the heat rises to meet you. The blue in a flame is the hottest part of the fire. Some who feel this stillness are looking at the most complete burn of their lives. Some are looking at a fire that quietly went out. The test is in your hands now. The answer is behind that one open door. And if you already know the one you would open the door to, say their name in the comments. Just this: I stopped leaving the key out for everyone.
Empaths aren't broken. They're alchemists in progress. The Alchemist's Path gives you drills, Jung-based boundaries, and 3 exclusive chapter videos to turn overwhelm into clarity. By Surreal Mind, 236-page downloadable ebook in stock. Begin now at thesurrealmind.com.